All right, everyone, we are back with the Kelsier, and I read the Mistborn trilogy, which you can see right there. I don't know if you can actually see that, and it was amazing. And I did a series where I read one part, and then I would guess what was going to happen for the rest of the book. It was relatively popular. I had a really good time doing it, and then I'd read the next and the next and the next. And I asked a lot of you where to go next in the Kelsier, and there was a bunch of different answers. I researched it, I listened to you guys, and if I'm honest, I ended up on The Secret History because I knew it was quite Kelsier heavy, and I enjoyed Kelsier as a character. I wasn't quite ready to leave the part of the story, or at least a section of the world that I was in, even though I know I'm going to be exploring some new parts here. So I read part one, and yes, I know what you're thinking. Part one is only 31 pages, and that does mean that I don't have much context to go on, but I am going to make some guesses as to what I think is going to happen moving forwards, talk about what's already happened, and honestly just talk about some things that I really do hope happen as well. So let's jump into it. We jump in pretty much immediately to Kelsier's death, and it's a throwback. It immediately puts me back to one of the most pivotal moments in the entirety of the trilogy, pretty much just before the final act of the first book. And it's awesome because so much happened since then that it's not that you forgot that it occurred, but the world kind of has bigger problems from there pretty much for the entire duration. But at the time, that was the biggest problem we could imagine. Our main character, Kelsier, being dispatched, and we see him use melatium, I think it is, the metal that he was completely convinced was going to be useful to defeat the Lord Ruler. And obviously it's not useless, but we haven't found a fantastic use for it yet. So my guess is that hopefully we are going to learn more about melatium in this book. I was racking my brain and I could not think of a fantastic use for it. The only thing that I could imagine would use melatium, and I don't even know if they can burn metals like that, would be Ruin. So if Ruin could see like what you would do in a different life, maybe he could see if in that life you would help him escape from the well in that direction, or something in that direction, and he could figure out which way to push you that would be advantageous to him. But that's a long shot. I don't really know what it could be used for, but Brandon Sanderson, I'm sure, has more ideas than me. And what I assumed this book was going to be full of is mysterious characters, and immediately we meet a fast fading Preservation. And the first thing that really amused me was Preservation's not obsession but admiration of the Lord Ruler and what the Lord Ruler's done. And it makes so much sense. Preservation, the clue's in the name. He wants to preserve. The Lord Ruler has found a way to preserve the world as it is and preserve himself. Unchanging technology, unchanging systems, unchanging man. So you can see why Preservation was so impressed. And you know, if you think about it logically, makes a ton of sense, but I just never thought of that because obviously Preservation was introduced much later on, to us anyway. But Preservation as a whole is relatively unimpressive. And not only is Kelsier massively unimpressed, he immediately assaults Preservation and then checks his attitude about the overall game plan, checks a god's attitude, which is prime Kelsier. His attitude, Kelsier's attitude, is incredible. I feel like if you're in any scenario, any difficult position, you need someone like Kelsier to free up the weight on your mind, have a laugh about it, and allow you to finally be thinking clearly about what you need to do and how you might actually go about doing it. Everyone needs a Kelsier in their life. And if Kelsier is unimpressed, then the Lord Ruler, Rashek, is downright disgusted with Preservation pretty much. And I was so disappointed. I thought we were going to get more Rashek. Do I think Rashek's a great guy? No, but I think as the Lord Ruler, he was such an interesting character. And I even gave him MVP status for the entirety of the trilogy because I thought of all the work that he did and how he managed to keep Ruin from his end goal and to plan almost 1,000 years ahead. And the guy did a lot wrong, but I was just very impressed with his willpower and creativity, even though he was on paper a pretty horrible dude. So I just thought I was going to get more time with Rashek, more of his mindset, and but we didn't. He just fades away. So I would love to predict that we get more of him, but I just feel like we're not going to, which is unfortunate. So Kelsier manages to trap himself in the well and essentially make himself immortal in this like limbo zone. And I think this is going to open up some cool storylines. Like, will Ruin present himself to Kelsier? Will they have conversations whilst waiting in the well for a very long time? I don't know. Will he realize what Ruin is and what's going on there? Will he manage to affect the world around him in a way that we didn't quite realize he was able to? We know that Vin and Ellen are going to come to the well. We know that Ellen will be stabbed by preservation. But do we know, is there like a backstory to that? Was that Kelsier's suggestion? Was that Kelsier maybe? We don't know. I'm excited to find out. I think that interaction is definitely going to be an interesting one, because that's like, it has to have, he has to be there. So that's the one place I can definitely pinpoint him while he's in limbo, even though he's allowed to like bop around the world and not really affect things, but be there. The one place I know he would definitely be so far is in the well as the releasing is going to happen. We also get a very interesting comment. So Ruin, Preservation, when talking about Ruin, says, you make our religion all about you. And I don't know exactly what that means, but they also mention Ati, which is, I think, like a higher force than them potentially. And I believe that those two have been on Scadrial for a really long time. And I believe that they have been on Scadrial for a really long time. But where did they originate from? How did those two come to possess those bodies? Like, were there humans really far away? Or were there really humans really long ago? Or were the gods created sooner than we thought? Or did they create Scadrial? Like, I think we're going to get the answers to some of those questions, which I'm really excited about. And the original like human vessels for these two godlike forces, I'm really interested to hear how it came about, especially Ruin's vessel, because who would decide to jump in and be the force of Ruin? I mean, unless they decided that they could maybe change it, which is really naive. Like, that's not going to happen. It's you versus a god, but who knows? I'm interested. I'm certain that we're going to hear a lot more about it. There are also 2 extra metals mentioned at the end of the trilogy, so I'm hoping and praying that we get to hear a little bit about them. But mainly I'm just trusting in Sanderson. As I said, it's only 31 pages. I don't know a huge amount. It's hard to make a lot of guesses, but I'm trusting in Sanderson that I'm gonna get the answers to things that I don't even know the question to. So there's going to be things that happened that I didn't think twice about, that are going to be complicated and going to be tied into the story, and they were just mentioned ever so slightly. Not even enough for me to pick up on it, most likely, without this new information in this book. So I'm looking forward to getting answers to the questions I don't have, basically. But I do have one question. Where is Marsh? I don't know if we're going to get a post Sazed as Harmony like rundown or understanding, but Marsh disappears after killing Ellen. So where is he? I don't know. Is he dead? Almost definitely not. I'm done underestimating Marsh's character. I did it for the duration of the trilogy, so maybe we will find out where Marsh went. But I think mainly what I'm going to get is a bunch of answers to things that I didn't even know were going to be really significant, and I am very motivated to read on. So I know this video has less predictions, but I didn't manage to read too much. And that really is the end of part 1. So I'm going to continue. We're going to jump into the next load. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video, and the next one will be up next Sunday at 10 a.m. Central Time. If you enjoy these types of videos, I've got tons of them on my channel. Please subscribe and we'll go through this journey together. I appreciate it. I'll see you next time.